냐제 쳔보도 닝미장 돈은 뭐는 쳔보 냐게다 나그러다는 잔도 쳔모도 tumbato je janla ki shomsar ne chen ro zer ni jang gam sa ja wor tu ji shan lo ya la man ji me ban zo ja la so ra gong ji to ban bo ro shin ji lo gong ji to ban bo ro shin ji lo gong ji to ban bo ro shin ji lo.
Profound and subtle Dharma is rarely encountered in eons. Now we hear and follow it. May we realize the Tathagata's meaning. To liberate beings, please generate bodhicitta before teaching.
We will now begin teaching the Śūraṅgama Sutra. In the 10 aspects of seeing nature in the Śūraṅgama Sutra, this should be the 9th aspect. Yesterday we discussed how seeing nature is neither caused by conditions nor natural, but this topic is quite extensive. Some commentaries also say the 9th aspect is seeing nature transcends emotion, transcending emotion. The 9th aspect, seeing nature transcends emotion. The meaning of seeing nature transcends emotion is this. Earlier, Venerable Ananda had already stated, our awareness pervades all 10 directions. It is neither born nor destroyed. So in this case, what difference is there from what the non-Buddhists call natural, or what they call the divine self, or true self? This is the main question. What difference is there? Also, Ananda said, the Buddha taught in the Lankavatara Sutra, the main view that differs from non-Buddhists is that things arise through dependence on causes and conditions. But here we say awareness pervades all 10 directions. Wouldn't this create a contradiction? Venerable Ananda asked these 2 questions because earlier regarding the so-called seeing nature not being in external objects nor having other distinctions. At this point, Manjushra Bodhisattva appeared and asked the Buddha some questions. Finally, the Buddha also gave Ananda and Manjushra Bodhisattva and their retinue especially sublime teachings. So today, we will continue answering Venerable Ananda's questions. This is the Buddha telling Ananda. The Buddha said to Ananda, I have now given these skillful teachings, speaking truthfully to you, yet you still have not understood and are confused about naturalness. Just after Ananda asked this way, the Buddha very compassionately told Ananda, today, here I am also giving you teachings through various skillful means. We all know that Venerable Ananda continuously asked questions and the Buddha continuously used various analogies and examples, as well as reasoning and various stories to truly teach him, speaking truthfully to you. I am now truthfully here, telling you this truth, but you still have not understood and are confused about naturalness. I have already told you over and over again, but you still cannot comprehend my profound meaning. You are still confused, thinking seeing nature is something natural. Because earlier Ananda always thought either it's something natural or it's produced by causes and conditions. Other than this, there's no way a third option. A third category shouldn't exist. He always thought this way. Then the Buddha continued saying, Ananda, if it must be natural, you should clearly discern what has a natural essence. The Buddha told Ananda, if you think there is something neither born nor destroyed, something permanent and unchanging that is natural, if seeing nature is something like this, something natural, then this kind of seeing nature must be something you should examine carefully or understand clearly or analyze clearly. You must analyze it thoroughly. What has this natural essence should have its own substance. If seeing nature is truly something natural, then this natural essence should have a natural substance. Now observe this wondrous clear seeing, what serves as its natural essence. But actually you should carefully use your own wisdom to observe your own seeing nature or the external forms and space, such phenomena. At that time in your wondrous clear seeing, wonderful, extraordinary, luminous, in this kind of seeing nature, what serves as natural? What is natural? What serves as the natural? If you truly think there must be something natural, then this natural must be pointed out to point it out. First, you must observe within your own seeing nature. When observing, what exactly is natural? Does this seeing take light as natural, or darkness as natural, space as natural, or solid objects as natural? So we hold this understanding when we observe within this understanding. If you actually think there is something natural, do you take light as natural? Because we call these the four conditions. Either you take light as natural, or you take darkness as natural, or you take space as natural, or you take solid objects as natural. Other than these few approaches, basically there are none. Here natural can also mean, or self can also mean, or principal substance. This self actually has several meanings. The meaning is, this self also has the meaning of seeing nature. Either you consider light as you're seeing nature, or darkness as seeing nature, or space or solid objects as seeing nature. The Buddha continued telling Ananda, if light were natural, you should not see darkness. If you take space as the natural substance, you should not see solid objects, and so forth. If you take darkness and other characteristics as natural. Then when it is light, seeing nature would be cut off. How could you see light? Below, the Buddha continued helping Ananda analyze. When analyzing, if you say light is natural, then this natural cannot change, and it is permanently unchanging. Since light is natural, then light is already natural. In this case, you should never see darkness. If this natural has changes, then it is neither universal nor permanent. If you say light is natural, then you can never see darkness. Similarly, if space is the natural substance, then you can never see solid objects either. Then conversely speaking, if solid objects are the natural substance, solid objects are natural, then space can never be seen when we reason this way. Among the four phenomena just mentioned, there's still one, darkness. So regarding darkness, if it is taken as the natural substance, then when it is light, seeing nature would already be cut off. Why? Because your seeing is natural. Your so-called seeing nature just mentioned is natural, and it is dark. If it is dark, then it cannot possibly change. Suppose you have already discarded the dark part and it became light. Then because you already acknowledged earlier that darkness is seeing nature. In this case, this seeing nature would already be cut off. If it's already cut off, how could we speak of seeing light? Seeing light would also be absolutely unreasonable. Here he first refutes Ananda's notion of naturalness. Yesterday I also spoke to everyone at the end, his so-called naturalness here, or the so-called principal self, or true self, or the agent. The Hinayana and non-Buddhists always believe there is something truly existent. Since there is something truly existent can never change. Just as in the commentary on the Ornament of the Middle Way, Mipham Rinpoche explained extensively in writing, if there is a substantially existent real thing within the realm of the knowable. If there is a substantially existent real thing, then all the varied knowable phenomena would become imperceptible. So when we reason analytically, there will definitely be such faults. Similarly, if, as Venerable Ananda accepts, our mind nature is also something natural, then we can analyze rationally whether this natural thing is established through light or through darkness or through space and solid objects established this way. Ultimately, none can be found. So our so-called naturalness here absolutely is not something substantially existent. This point is extremely important. Then next, the Buddha began asking Venerable Ananda again. No, this should be Ananda asking the Buddha. How did Ananda ask? Ananda said, this wondrous seeing nature must not be natural. I now understand it arises from causes and conditions. Just now, because the Buddha said naturalness cannot be established, Ananda began answering again, Buddha, actually this kind of wondrous seeing. Sometimes it says wondrous seeing, sometimes pure seeing. I've mentioned this before. So here, for textual elegance, in different contexts, different terms are used. This wondrous seeing here is also the earlier pure seeing or seeing nature. This seeing nature, actually its essence is not natural, because when the Buddha just analyzed indeed, naturalness cannot be spoken of this way. In that case, I now discover it arises from causes and conditions. because the Buddha in the Lankavatara Sutra also told Mahamati this way. It is something that arises from causes and conditions. Then Ananda thought. He turned again to causality, saying that seeing nature should arise from causes and conditions. My mind is still unclear, so I inquire of the Thus Come One, what does this meaning have to do with the nature of causes and conditions? Ananda said, I think it arises from causes and conditions, but my mind is still a bit confused. I want to inquire of the Thus Come One once more. How exactly should this meaning be understood? How it arises from the combination of causes and conditions? Because if it's the combination of causes and conditions, then it's definitely impermanent. It's a phenomenon of birth and cessation. If it's a phenomenon of birth and cessation, it was already said earlier that awareness pervades all 10 directions, and it is eternally indestructible, eternally abiding. So this is also a bit confusing. So Ananda is always probably like us too. Actually, sometimes we also seem, when we truly observe our own mind, we're also quite confused, especially when we teach some tantric teachings like the flight of Garuda or like the treasury of Dharmadhatu, some direct pointing teachings. There, it's quite straightforward. We feel like there's some hope, some feeling it should be like this. But when we teach the Śūraṅgama Sutra, perhaps many people before thought they understood mind nature a little bit. When they observe this way, actually many might lose confidence, not knowing what they themselves are doing. Of course, if even Venerable Ananda is lost in clouds and mist, then we needn't even mention ourselves. Of course, everyone doesn't need to worry. What's the reason? Because here, relying on various reasoning, various logical approaches for analysis, the principle of the mind's essence or seeing nature. So some sentient beings, through the analytical method of the Shurangama Sutra, completely awaken to it. Some, relying on tantric or Zen teachings, simpler direct pointing methods to awaken. So here among our teacher Shakyamuni Buddha's sutras, the Shurangama Sutra is extremely, extremely famous. But this fame is mainly through this analytical method, leading many people finally toward the path of liberation. This is the reason. So we all shouldn't worry too much. But when analyzed this way, indeed, we might not know which things are correct, not know which aspect is incorrect. It seems we don't understand, yet we say we understand. If we understand, we quickly forget, or quickly can't grasp a particularly clear main point. This might be when studying the Śūraṅgama Sutra, it's also a bit, perhaps the greatest difficulty, but I believe everyone should have confidence. This confidence is very important for this teaching. You must have a kind of reverent and joyful heart. Through joyful and reverent heart, actually confidence can also be gained. For example, in worldly matters, it's also like this. When a worldly teacher gives you lessons, if you are very joyful about this teacher's actions, and also very joyful, the teacher's words, you accept them especially from the heart. It seems every sentence and word they speak won't be forgotten for a long time, deeply etched in your heart. If you think this teacher talks nonsense while looking at his faults, you reluctantly remain in this classroom to listen. Actually, you won't gain any benefit. Buddhism is also like this. If you have especially devout faith in this sutra, in this teaching through the power of faith, the harvest you gain in your mind stream is also extraordinary. So everyone should also, sometimes also pray to our teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. Sometimes toward this Dharma text, I read it once, this time look at it once. I may not necessarily understand it, but in my lifetime, if I read it repeatedly, there should always be a day when I'll comprehend it. Next, in the middle of this conversation between Ananda and the Buddha, after asking this question, the Buddha said, "You speak of causes and conditions. Now I ask you again. You say it arises from causes and conditions. If seeing nature arises from causes and conditions just now, then the Buddha said, I ask you, Ananda, let me ask you once more." They mutually questioned each other this way. You now see due to causes, and seeing nature appears before you. If you now rely on causes to see this, because he says it arises from causes and conditions, if it arises from causes and conditions, conditions. Below, the Buddha analyzes from the aspect of causes and also analyzes from the aspect of conditions, analyzing from these two aspects. First, analyzing from the aspect of causes. When analyzing from the aspect of causes, I ask you, Ananda, you say you see due to causes, seeing nature manifest through causes. In that case, does this seeing exist due to the cause of light or due to the cause of darkness? Or due to the cause of space, or due to the cause of solid objects? He asks this question below. You say it arises through dependence on causes and conditions. So if it arises from causes and conditions, I first ask you about causes. Does your seeing nature rely on this cause, relying on the cause of light to have seeing, or relying on the cause of darkness to have seeing, or relying on the cause of space to have seeing, or relying on the cause of solid objects to have seeing? Of course, we all know our seeing nature. If these four types of causes could produce it, we cannot speak of any of them. None can be spoken of this way. So the Buddha asks Ananda below, he continues analyzing for him further, if you say it exists through light, if our seeing nature exists through the seed of light, then you should not see darkness, because if this seeing nature exists through light, then when there is light it exists, if this cause of light disappears. Then it's impossible to have seeing nature in darkness. In that case, you could never see darkness. If you see due to light, you can never see darkness. If you have seeing due to darkness, then you can never see light. Same reasoning. If you see due to the cause of space, then you can never see solid objects. If you see through solid objects, you can never see space. This solid objects here, when translated into Tibetan space and inanimate objects, solid objects uses inanimate, seeing through space or seeing through inanimate objects. This solid objects, when Changja Guru translated it into Tibetan, it's all translated as inanimate. In that case, causes cannot be spoken of this way. We all know if my seeing nature sees through light, then it's always light if there's no light once, or seeing darkness can never exist. This definitely won't work. Above, the Buddha analyzed from the aspect of causes, then again analyzing from the aspect of conditions. Furthermore, Ananda, this seeing also has seeing due to the condition of light, due to the condition of darkness has seeing, due to the condition of space has seeing, due to the condition of solid objects has seeing. Then below it says, in the Śūraṅgama Sūtra, orthodox commentary, cause is explained as seed, condition is explained as auxiliary condition. This is probably better. So when I just explained, it was also this way. Other great masters don't separate cause and condition. There are also other explanation methods regarding Ananda's question earlier. He thinks seeing nature arises from causes and conditions. Then when the Buddha analyzes for him below this cause as a seed. You see, if the seed of seeing nature is light, then darkness has no way. If its seed is darkness, then light has no way. Similarly, space and solid objects are also inferred this way. Below, he uses auxiliary conditions to explain if this condition, its auxiliary condition is light and has seeing, or is the auxiliary condition darkness and has seeing, or is the auxiliary condition space and has seeing, or is the auxiliary condition solid objects and has seeing. Then continuing the analysis, Ananda, if there is seeing due to the condition of space, then because its condition is space, in that case solid objects can never be seen because it lacks the auxiliary condition of space. If the condition is solid objects and has seeing, then you can never see space. What's the reason? Because its auxiliary condition is only solid objects. If the auxiliary condition is solid objects, then space cannot possibly be seen due to the lack of auxiliary conditions. Going on like this, if we continue calculating conditions of light, conditions of darkness, same reasoning. Also this kind of inference method for space and solid objects. If you have seeing due to the condition of light, then you can never have darkness because its auxiliary condition is light. Or if you have seeing due to the condition of darkness, then you can never have the condition of light because its auxiliary condition is darkness. Reasoning this way, after this, the above analyzes, telling Ananda that seeing nature is not produced by causes and conditions. So generally speaking, if relying on a method of indication to help disciples recognize mind nature, just as some instruction manuals explain what manifests and what is manifested is not produced through the method of what generates and what is generated. Originally, one already possesses this nature completely. It's just that it appears presently through a method of indication, just like in space. Space originally exists as an unconditioned phenomenon. Then, when wind removes the clouds outside, you cannot say space is produced through causes and conditions. When we see space, wind is borrowing an external condition, but this external condition cannot be called producer and produced approximately. Isn't it like this? Sometimes when examining seeing nature through written reasoning, indeed it's also not particularly easy to understand. In that case, this seeing nature here cannot be produced by causes and conditions. Then what exactly is this seeing nature like? Because earlier it was said it cannot be produced naturally either, if its natural is light natural or darkness natural. When analyzing this way, it's also difficult if it's produced by causes and conditions. Is it produced by cause or produced by condition? Seeing nature is not like this either. Then what exactly is seeing nature like? Below he draws a conclusion. This below should be the seeing nature transcends emotion, the final conclusion. How does he explain this conclusion? You should know that this pure, wondrous awareness is neither caused nor conditioned, neither natural nor unnatural. He says here at the end, Ananda, you should know our present pure, wondrous awareness. You see, here again, it's pure, wondrous awareness. In each section, there are different terms. Actually, it's our wondrous seeing nature, or wondrous true mind. So this wondrous true mind. What conclusion do we finally reach? It is not produced by relying on causes, nor is it produced by relying on conditions. This has just been refuted, and it's also not produced naturally. Whether it's the divine self mentioned earlier, or the natural in Buddhist inner teachings, it's not produced naturally, nor is it unnatural. It's not produced by something unnatural either. Without non-affirmation or non-negation, without is or is not. Here, distant from the four elaborations, there is neither non-affirmation nor non-negation, neither is nor is not actually existence and non-existence, or having limits and having no limits, then the two extremes of existence and non-existence, free from both extremes, distant from the four extremes, neither is nor is not, neither not is nor not, such a realm. Finally, free from all characteristics, yet embodying all phenomena. When we truly understand seeing nature, actually it originally is free from all characteristics. This is the true nature of all phenomena. All appearances whatsoever are illusory. If one sees all appearances as non-appearances, then one sees the Tathagata. In the Diamond Sutra it says, all these so-called, when all true characteristics are completely transcended, this is the true reality. To say it resembles something would miss the mark. The Zen school often says, if there truly is something, then actually they have not understood the true mind. Awakening of Faith in the Mahayana also says, all phenomena from the very beginning transcend the characteristics of speech, transcend the characteristics of names, transcend the characteristics of mental conditions, ultimately equal, without variation, indestructible. It also explains this way, this true Dharma, all language, all thinking. All elaborations have already been transcended. So Ananda should now understand quite clearly the so-called seeing nature actually is not something natural, as the non-Buddhists acknowledge that there's truly a real substance pervading everything. It's not like this. Nor does it arise through dependence, like plant melons get melons, plant beans get beans, through such causes and conditions. If it truly were like this, it wouldn't be the true seeing nature. It would merely be a worldly conditioned phenomenon. So what is the final conclusion we reach? It is free from all characteristics, yet embodying all phenomena. How is it that you now still place your mind in this, making distinctions through worldly elaborations and conceptual designations? The Buddha again began scolding Ananda. Why are you now still spinning around in such a state, continuously placing your mind, using your mind, grasping, or you are like this, always circulating within your own discriminating mindset, wandering around, unable to pull yourself out? Why are you like this, making distinctions through all worldly elaborations and conceptual designations? Why do you, in this world, with all these various attachments, conceptual designations, elaborations, keep making distinctions among these? Why do you keep being like this? I've given you teaching so many times. Sometimes, indeed, perhaps Ananda is a kind of display, but we ordinary beings are indeed also like this. Some people may have relied on spiritual teachers for many, many years already more than 10 years, 20 years, but still seem to remain in their own kind of self-centered discriminating thoughts, their own worldly conventional discriminating thoughts. Worldly people have all kinds of inverted thoughts. We all know permanence, bliss, self, and purity. Permanence, bliss, self, and purity are worldly inversions. But when our mind first begins studying Buddhism to after studying for many years, it's still the same. Self-grasping hasn't decreased, discriminating thoughts haven't decreased, inverted elaborations have increased. If it's like this, what meaning is there? So here, indirectly, actually the Buddha is also speaking in quite a scolding tone. Why are you now still toward these fundamentally non-existent things, like moon reflections in water or a barren woman's child, still insisting on grasping them? Why is this? This is equivalent to using your palm to massage empty space, only increasing your own weariness. How could empty space follow your grasping? Let me give you an analogy. It's like our palms trying to massage empty space, insisting on massaging empty space, rubbing empty space. Actually, empty space originally has no substance. If it has no substance, if we use our fingers to rub it, it's like making knots in empty space, tying knots. This is an impossible thing. Mipham Rinpoche in other Madhyamaka texts also explains this way. This is completely only your own futile effort with no meaning. How could empty space follow your thoughts, making it possible to grasp, or making knots in space, or massaging space, or dwelling within empty space? Yesterday we discussed flowers in space. How could these be established? They cannot be established at all. If they cannot be established, then actually you're thinking that seeing nature is either something naturally permanent or it arises through dependence on causes and conditions. Such explanations and thoughts are indeed very absurd and unreasonable. So the Buddha here also explains this reasoning to Ananda. Next, the 10th aspect of seeing nature, although there are different ways, but actually seeing nature free from seeing, seeing nature transcends all seeing. This principle, the 10th, is the principle of seeing nature transcending all seeing. So how is seeing nature transcend seeing explained here? Ananda said to the Buddha, "World-honored one, this wondrous enlightened nature is indeed neither cause nor conditioned." Why does the world-honored one always teach the monks that seeing nature has 4 types of conditions, namely, due to space, due to light, due to mind, due to I? What does this mean? In Ananda's previous questions, the Buddha also gave him a very good answer. Then next, actually, Ananda's characteristic is, no matter how the Buddha scolds him, he fundamentally won't have emotions, or let alone have wrong views toward him. He won't collapse because of this for us ordinary worldly disciples. In so many situations, each time the Buddha uses this scolding tone to give teachings, probably some would no longer dare to ask, no longer want to ask, or even if they have questions, they don't have the courage to ask again. But Ananda is indeed different. Why did he follow the Buddha continuously throughout the Buddha's entire life? Actually, it's also like this. Here, Ananda again continuously. His perseverance should also be worth learning from. He asked, world-honored one, this wondrous enlightened nature. You see, now here it uses wondrous enlightened nature. This wondrous enlightened nature is neither caused nor conditioned. You just explained our present seeing nature, pure seeing or true mind, is not produced by causes, not produced by conditions. In that case, why does the world-honored one often teach the monks? What does he teach the monks? That seeing nature has 4 types of causes and conditions. What are these 4 types of causes and conditions? Namely, the condition of space, the condition of light, the condition of mind, and the condition of the eye. If there are no such conditions in the Vinaya and other sutras, why do you teach the monks these 4 conditions? Because due to the condition of space, seeing exists. Because due to the condition of light, seeing manifests. Because due to the condition of mind, seeing knows. Because due to the condition of the eye, what is seen directly with one's own eyes, etc. Why did you speak of such conditions? This is also a question from Ananda to the Buddha. Actually, from a certain perspective, we see indirectly speaking to the Buddha, if you don't acknowledge that it's produced by causes and conditions, then your own scriptures have self-contradictions. In the Hinayana scriptures, you said seeing nature arises through dependence on 4 conditions, but you just said earlier that there are no causes and conditions. How can this be explained clearly? This is the meaning. These 4 conditions here in the Shurangama Sutra, Complete Illumination Commentary, it says the Yogacara school acknowledges 9 types of conditions. The Hinayana acknowledges 4 types of conditions. So what's mentioned here are 4 types of conditions. To produce seeing nature requires 4 types of conditions. What are the 9 types of conditions? The first condition is called the space condition. It's the same as what we discussed before, because without space you cannot see if the middle is already blocked. Already obstructed, you cannot see. Then the second condition. According to the Yogacara school's 9 conditions, the second condition is the light condition. For this light, there should be some illumination. If it's completely dark, you also cannot see. So you need the light condition. The third is called the faculty condition, regarding the faculty condition. What we often speak of as eye faculty, ear faculty, without such empowering conditions, you also cannot see. Without this faculty, you also cannot see. The fourth is called the object condition. But it seems the object condition is not referring to external objects. It seems to refer to this object. Perhaps it's the consciousness that apprehends objects. But actually, regarding the object condition, just as the Sautrantika school explains, external objects might be better, but the Yogacara school might not acknowledge such self-characterized external objects. Then the fifth, attention condition, regarding attention condition. If I want to see something, I must first have the intention to see, this kind of motivation. The sixth is called the root condition. The root condition should be the 8th consciousness. In the Alaya Vijnana, there need to be such seeds. Then the 7th should be pure impure condition. The pure impure condition actually refers to impurity and purity, equivalent to the afflicted consciousness, the 7th consciousness. The 8th is called the discrimination condition. This should be our consciousness discrimination. The 9th is called the seed condition, which is our consciousness serving as a seed, also becoming a seed. Actually, many of the later viewpoints of the Yogacara school themselves, we start dividing them based on the 8 consciousnesses. So the 4 conditions mentioned earlier actually include several of the previous ones, including space condition, light condition, root condition, attention condition. These several can be divided this way when necessary. Our understanding of the Yogacara school's 9 conditions, arising through dependence on 9 conditions. Actually, such analysis is also very good, but for those of us who study logic, for example, in the treasury of valid reasoning, object support condition, empowering condition, or immediate cause, such methods of apprehending objects are slightly different. Of course, the Yogacara school has the Yogacara schools their own way of establishing conventional terms. Here, we all know Venerable Ananda just asked, if it's not produced by causes and conditions, then why did you say in these Hinayana scriptures that it arises through dependence on 4 conditions? Actually, some commentaries also explain, regarding the so-called seeing here, Venerable Ananda mainly asks questions focusing on seeing with the eyes. He always thinks this way. Then regarding the Tathagata, the nature within the faculties, meaning that seeing nature takes mind as primary, so our usual seeing is believing. Perhaps materialists, realist schools consider this quite important, then seeing through mind with realization as primary, generally from the Mahayana Yogacara viewpoint and above, is more appropriate. The questions he asks here sometimes, including the light condition, space condition, mind condition, eye condition, just mentioned, all have some relationship with eye seeing as for mind seeing. Actually, light and space. Mind seeing wouldn't have a particularly great relationship with them. We can also discuss this below. When Ananda asks this question, the Buddha tells him this way. The Buddha said, "Ananda, I speak of worldly causes and conditions, not the ultimate truth." This is very important. Although in different scriptures I speak of some causes and conditions, all the phenomena of our external world and sentient world, all things and phenomena, I speak of some causal relationships. All phenomena arise from causes and conditions. All phenomena cease from causes and conditions. This is what the great Shramana teaches, etc. Such conditioned phenomena actually are not the ultimate truth. This is not the ultimate meaning. What is it then? It's to guide worldly people, to guide some people of the Shravaka vehicle, so they don't fall into wrong views, because some of them think all phenomena arise without causes, but they don't arise without causes. To refute this view, some think they arise from permanent causes, but they don't arise from permanent causes either. Some think they arise from wrong causes. For example, saying that creating negative karma brings happiness, creating positive karma brings suffering, arising from non-causes, arising from wrong causes. To stop these views, I have explained conditioned arising. In different scriptures, conditioned arising has implicit meaning. It has some teaching spoken this way for sentient beings of conventional capacities. Master Ui's commentary says, conventional truth is explained according to emotions. Explained according to sentient beings. Ultimate truth is explained according to wisdom, explained according to wisdom. And in that case, actually the conditioned dharmas I explain are not necessarily very ultimate. For example, the Lankavatara Sutra says, the non-arising of all phenomena is the ultimate nature. Fools fall into existence and non-existence, discriminating various causes and conditions. All phenomena are non-arising. This is the true ultimate meaning. This is ultimate truth. Then foolish ordinary beings fall into either existence or non-existence. So for such people, the teaching of conditioned dharmas was explained discriminatively. So here he explains, the Buddha said, these causes and conditions I did speak of them, but when I spoke of them, actually it was to guide certain sentient beings. Then the Buddha continued saying, Ananda, I ask you again, worldly people say, I can see. What is called seeing, what is called not seeing. I ask you, Ananda, today I ask you again. You say that worldly people speak of I can see, what worldly people call I can see. For example, I see a pillar, I see a vase. What is called seeing, what is called not seeing. Now the Buddha is going to test Ananda regarding this seeing and not seeing. Following worldly conventions, one can speak this way, but actually, if we examine it, worldly seeing and not seeing cannot withstand examination. This is the meaning. Although I have spoken of conditioned dharmas, but these conditioned dharmas ultimately, when we analyze rationally, cannot be examined, cannot bear responsibility. Why is this? If you don't believe it, let me ask you a question. Then Ananda answered, worldly people, because there is lamplight, sunlight, moonlight, the light of sun, moon, and lamps, see various forms. This is called seeing. We often say this too. During the day there is sunlight, moonlight, or when there is lamplight. When light illuminates, when it shines upon everything, mountains and rivers, the great earth, houses, vases, pillars, all phenomena can be seen. This is called seeing. If there are none of these three kinds of light, then one cannot see. If there is no sunlight, no moonlight, no lamplight, then it's completely dark. You can't see your hand in front of your face. At that time, worldly people definitely say they cannot see. This is very simple. We might also say this way, in darkness we can't see anything. This is called not seeing. Then when there's moonlight, when there are houses, when there are these things, when all conditions are complete, you can see. This is called seeing. At this time the Buddha began refuting his view. Ananda, if when there is no light, it's called not seeing, you should not see darkness. If you must see darkness, this is merely without light. How is this not seeing? Below he began what Ananda just said. Only under the premise of three kinds of light can one see if one can't see otherwise. Then he began refuting Ananda's view. If it's like this, when you have no light, it's called not seeing, right? If when there's no light you don't see, then you should not be able to see darkness. Actually, we've also analyzed this before. When worldly people see, oh, when it's completely dark, we can't see things. But at this time, darkness must be acknowledged as seen. You just said if it's dark, you don't see. In that case, doesn't darkness also qualify as not seeing? If you must see darkness, if you can see darkness, then actually this is merely without light. How could this be not seeing? Without light is called not seeing. Actually, how do you acknowledge not seeing? Your seeing darkness is also seeing. If you only count seeing in light and don't count seeing in darkness as seeing, then, as will be analyzed below, light also doesn't count as seeing because darkness is not seen. This will be analyzed below. So sometimes we can think this way. The Buddha, not mentioning his realization and wisdom qualities, if he were an ordinary worldly person, his wisdom should be very sharp because we cannot see on the spot. What Ananda was really like, what the Buddha was really like, but their debate between the two. We later generations can also analyze in the process of analysis. Indeed, the Buddha's wisdom, indeed, more than 2,500 years ago, to have such a brilliant debate, not mentioning the special realization and wisdom qualities of Buddhism. Just from this kind of wisdom in debate, we should say this is extraordinarily superior wisdom to infer from, oh, the Buddha indeed has such inconceivable wisdom. Otherwise, look at our analysis of mind. Each of us has the right to participate in such analysis when analyzing. If Ananda says this way, we might say, oh yes, 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 Ananda, what you say is right. In darkness we can't see. This can be called not seeing, but in light we can see. Worldly people also think this way. We might also think this way, but the Buddha said, this is merely worldly convention. If we reason analytically, you cannot acknowledge it this way. Why can't you acknowledge it this way? Ananda, if when in darkness you cannot see light and thus call it not seeing, if you say that in darkness because you don't see light, you call it not seeing, now when in light you don't see dark forms, this can also be called not seeing. This is using your own spear to attack your own shield, or using a kind of counter-argument method to explain to him. You say that because in darkness you don't see light, so you call it not seeing. When you're in light, you also don't see darkness at that time. If you don't see darkness, you should also call it not seeing. This debate method is quite interesting. Our worldly views cannot think of such reasoning at all, but the Buddha immediately broke Ananda's, our ordinary concepts. Thus, these two aspects are both called not seeing. In that case, light also cannot be seen, because when there's light, darkness is not seen. Then when there's darkness, it can also be called not seeing, because light is not seen. Or conversely, both are seen. We can say this: if these two aspects mutually overcome each other, it's not that your seeing nature temporarily disappears. For example, when there's light, darkness has already disappeared. Its position has been taken away by light. Then when there's light, darkness has already been concealed, or when you're in darkness, light has already been concealed. For example, at night, darkness has already won. Light is no longer there at that time. During the day, when there's light, at that time there's no darkness. They mutually obscure each other, mutually avoid each other if this is the case. Actually, it's not that your seeing nature temporarily disappears. Actually, when there's light, you can't see darkness, but your seeing nature still exists. Then when there's darkness, although you can't see light, your seeing nature still exists. You can't think, oh, now when there's light, because I can't see darkness, my seeing nature is also gone. Because when it's dark, I can't see light. My seeing nature is also gone. It's not like this. It has nothing to do with darkness and light. Your seeing nature is always there. So it's not following the arising and ceasing of darkness and light, that your seeing nature arises and ceases. It's not like this at all. So in this, if we have a little recognition, when you generate greed, it doesn't run away. When you generate hatred, it doesn't run away. It doesn't follow our worldly mind, that your seeing nature also comes and goes. It's not like this. Seeing nature should actually be a kind of inconceivable, truly, when the Dharma realm and one's wisdom merge as one. It doesn't change due to worldly arising and ceasing conditions. This should be the meaning. It's not that your seeing nature temporarily disappears. It's not because light and darkness mutually alternate that your understanding also temporarily disappears or temporarily returns. It's not like this. Thus you should know both are called seeing. How can you say not seeing? In this way, you should know both of these can be called seeing. You can see light, you can see darkness. At this time, your seeing nature never disappears. Why don't you say this? You should be able to say this. So next, below, we truly discuss transcending seeing, just like a direct pointing to mind nature in tantric teachings, the most important principle of seeing nature in Zen. How is this explained below? Below is the true direct pointing method. This part is a very profound teaching in Zen. Therefore, Ananda, you should now know, when seeing light, the seeing is not the light. When seeing darkness, the seeing is not the darkness. When seeing space, the seeing is not the space. When seeing solid objects, the seeing is not the solid objects. These four meanings are established. So finally this conclusion is reached, Ananda. You should know, when you see this light, don't think that at this time your seeing is not this light, because you see this light. Your seeing nature is light. At this time your seeing is not your light. Then when you see darkness, your seeing is not this darkness. When you see emptiness, your seeing nature is not that space at that time. When you see obstruction, blockage, your seeing nature is not this obstruction. The meaning is that we follow light, darkness, space, obstruction. Actually, our worldly mind also changes. Our eye consciousness also changes. But your seeing nature is not seen because of this reason, because of this reason. You see light, see obstruction, see darkness. It's not like this. This is quite similar to the previous question. So these four meanings should be established. This is also very important. Generally speaking, mind nature doesn't change following external seeing light, seeing darkness, or seeing space, seeing obstruction. The meaning is like this. Of course, our eye consciousness follows this. For example, when I see light, I see light. When I see darkness, I see darkness. Seeing emptiness, seeing obstructive phenomena, these change accordingly, but my seeing nature doesn't change accordingly. This is one aspect of the principle. Then further, below is truly its most profound teaching. You should also know, when seeing sees, the seeing is not the seeing. Seeing is yet apart from seeing. Seeing cannot reach it. This passage is like the direct pointing method in the Diamond Sutra. When seeing sees, the seeing is not the seeing. Seeing is yet apart from seeing. Seeing cannot reach it. Just saying it this way, many people probably don't know what this means. The meaning is like this. When you're seeing nature, the first seeing means seeing nature. When you're seeing nature manifests, when the aspect of seeing arises within seeing nature, I see many commentaries have different explanations, but I think Master Uyi's explanation method is easier to understand. His meaning is, when seeing sees, when you're seeing nature, an aspect of seeing appears in the middle. our worldly eye-seeing primarily, such an aspect of seeing, then this aspect of seeing, the seeing is not the seeing, that such seeing nature is not the aspect of seeing when you truly use seeing nature. Actually, the seeing at that time, what your eyes see at that time is not true seeing because it's a seeing on the level of characteristics. Then true seeing nature transcends. Seeing, true seeing is yet apart from seeing. True seeing nature actually transcends the earlier light seeing, space seeing, darkness seeing. All of these are already gone. Seeing cannot reach it. So our worldly aspect of seeing cannot touch true seeing nature at all. This principle, actually seeing and seeing have different meanings, but in name they should be completely the same. So this principle is still very profound. I've seen many, including those from the Ming, Song and Qing dynasties, many great masters, when reading the Śūraṅgama Sutra to the earlier passage, when seeing sees, the seeing is not the seeing, and seeing is yet apart from seeing, seeing cannot reach it. When reaching this passage, many already awakened through this. Quite a few awakened through this. It should be in the biographies of eminent monks of the great Ming. There was one called Master Huqiu. He became a monk at about 9 years old, later received precepts, then studied many treatises primarily on Vinaya, then traveled in all directions, later met a very famous master at that time called Master Yuanwu. Then Master Yuanwu asked Huqiu, the earlier passage, when seeing sees, the seeing is not the seeing. Seeing is yet apart from seeing. Seeing cannot reach it. He recited this passage once. After reciting it, he made his hand into a fist for Huqiu to see. Huqiu was also called Master Long. When Master Long looked, he asked if he saw it. Then at that time he said, I have already seen it. At this time, Master Yuanwu said, you're putting a head on top of a head. He scolded him. When he scolded him, he had already entered, already awakened. Because of that verse earlier, he had already awakened after awakening. He later said, dense bamboo doesn't obstruct the flowing stream, because many great masters in Zen, when they awaken, often naturally express some such especially wonderful words he had already awakened. Of course, some might be false enlightenment, falsely creating some treatises. We previously, in Footprints on the Journey, also cited some cases of false enlightenment in Zen and other great masters scolding of such cases. This is the same principle. During the Ming Dynasty, there was this Master Huqiu. He also awakened through relying on this verse. Also, probably during the Qing Dynasty, there was something called Brief Collection of True Sources, also about many masters from earlier generations, some cases of achievement. At that time, there was one called Layman Wuhuan Shi. When he read the Shurangama Sutra, also to this part here, seeing is yet apart from seeing, seeing cannot reach it. When reaching this point, he already had some awakening. Later he went to one called Master Nangu to ask Master Nangu. This Master Nangu provided confirmation and also asked him, what have you seen? Then this layman Wuhuan Shi said, the turtle escapes from the jar, at midnight release the black rooster. This was his way of expressing it. This is also a very typical verse in history. Of course, we know, for example, releasing a black rooster at midnight. We don't know what kind of state this is, but this might be a Zen way of expression. If we release a black rooster in the dark night, it might originally be completely dark, plus adding a black rooster, we don't know what this means. But actually, this is also a manifestation of enlightenment. Also, in new continued biographies of eminent monks, there was one called Master Puji. When he was reading the Shurangama Sutra at that time, when reaching this verse, he already awakened. Later, he began establishing monasteries. His activities of propagating Dharma and benefiting beings were very vast. And so on. There are many, many more cases, I think, for all of us here. If with our sincere faith we frequently take this, it's also a verse. Just like we sometimes in the past, when encountering a particularly important verse, often write it on our hands. or post it in places where we can often see it. If we don't awaken the first time, then the second time, because I feel these have very profound meaning. At the beginning, we might find it difficult to understand, even literally, but gradually there are some profound instructions that directly point to the mind. These instructions we can completely understand at that time. Some Zen masters say, truly seeing one's essence transcends the characteristics of self-seeing. When truly seeing one's own essence, indeed it transcends these characteristics of seeing. At that time, like a person drinking water, knowing whether it's cold or warm, one will also understand by oneself. The Buddha again told Ananda, you must know when seeing sees, the seeing is not the seeing. Seeing is yet apart from seeing. Seeing cannot reach it, this principle. How can you again speak of causes and conditions, naturalness and harmonious combination? If it's truly seeing, it's like this. True understanding transcends all discrimination. If it transcends all discrimination, how could you still speak within this of causes and conditions, naturalness or harmonious combination of phenomena? In such a case, where is the logic? There's no logic in Tibetan. This needn't be mentioned. In Tibetan, what was just mentioned before? Right, this needn't be mentioned. Then next, you Shravakas are narrow-minded and ignorant, unable to penetrate the pure, true reality. Then below, the Buddha again scolding these Shravakas led by Ananda. He said, you Shravakas actually have very narrow and inferior knowledge. Your wisdom is also particularly shallow. Actually, I think they have already realized selflessness of persons or achieved first fruition. They're not necessarily, but for us ordinary beings, especially us modern people who think all day about material things, money or emotions, status in the world, etc., every day spending our time with these. In our hearts, there's fundamentally not one particularly profound Dharma teaching or principle of emptiness, these kinds of principles. So if we're to scold anyone, we should scold us present-day sentient beings with very heavy karma and afflictions. So the Buddha at that time scolded, you Shravakas have very narrow minds, very shallow wisdom, unable to penetrate the true pure reality. I now instruct you. You should think well. Do not become weary on the wondrous path of Bodhi. Below here he explains the meaning of study, contemplation and practice. I today have already instructed you. This is hearing, wisdom from hearing. Today I have already given you such profound instructions as before. When seeing sees, the seeing is not the seeing. Then you should think well. You, led by Ananda, should contemplate well repeatedly. This is called wisdom from contemplation. Do not become weary on the wondrous path of Bodhi, on your path of Bodhi. You cannot be lax, cannot be weary, cannot be lazy. You must be diligent, because the great matter of birth and death, indeed we cannot be lax, we must be diligent. This is wisdom from practice in actual action on the path of Bodhi. We cannot stop and give up because of small conditions or obstacles, then stop and give up. These are unreasonable. We must have a kind of diligent mind, then pray to the Guru and three jewels. We ourselves must definitely on the path of Bodhi, definitely practice with strength. So here he speaks of hearing, contemplation and practice. We must practice hearing, contemplation and practice very well. Then after attaining the correct result, we can benefit immeasurable sentient beings. The 10th question should now be completed. Today's teaching of the Śūraṅgama Sutra ends here.
Bandara Bandara